Welcome to Poetry Reading, and to my left is Stevie M, who's going to play guitar, and I'll be reading poetry, which is a bit strange for the Millrace. But my thanks to John and the staff, and I'll just go straight into it. And this is entitled, "It Is Not Enough." It is not enough to pick flowers only children see. One must take them to throw them into the ocean for the tide to turn. It is not enough to change colors, for them to melt into one, as a dream to live amid 1,000 screens. It is not enough to read a poem to a stone. One must bring it to the ears of the old, to the ears of the young, to remain within as a prayer unanswered. Thank you. Yeah, well done. Thank you. In 2018, I did an exhibition in Carrick-on-Shannon, and it was in the workhouse, which is situated in St. Patrick's Hospital. And the workhouse, it's a very long building, but in the centre of it, there's a pathway, like a pavement, and it's a little bit deep, but the clients used to lie either side of that, and the people who were looking after the clients walked up and down and gave them food. So I did an installation piece there, and this was the poem that I used for the installation. The workhouse. Delusion replaced reality as tattered, torn women, men and children growl as hunger hurts. Emptied from the vessel of living, they scraped for the unknown as it clouded their dreams. Society's infliction of bitter and broken promises, leaving their hopes to die with them in the forgiving earth. That's a little bit part of our history that a lot of people have forgotten about. But if you've got the opportunity to go there, do and visit. It's organised by the Heritage Centre, which is opposite the Bush Hotel. This is entitled "I Mind." And it's basically a love poem. Your resonance of your voice, words that soothe and caress this racing mind. I hear a distant wave breaking on the shore. You whispered of a need to be there. You, so precious, enhance an enchantment. We merge and we flow as reality dissolves. See how our love can excite the soul while we drift immersed in the other. My heart soars tonight and plunges into the depth of love. Invite yourself, please, to both our rejoicing hearts. Thank you. I'm going heavy now. I'll be very brief in the introduction of this, but most people have heard of the commission set up by the government into the mother and baby homes. And I worked on the commission, setting up of the commission for about 10 years and previous to that. But leading up to that, I was in a home entitled the Bethany Home in Dublin. And in 2009, we found an unmarked grave in Mount Jerome Cemetery. So we did a PR job, and I had to read out the names of the children, their ages and how they died. So this poem was for that occasion, 26th of May 2010. And the poem is entitled Over Time. Over time, you all were erased by those who should have cared for you. Over time, as nature's seasons multiplied, you were remembered by those who gave birth to your short lives. Their love never left you, it remained to later join you. Here today, your passing is more vivid. You teach us in your absence that over time, love never dies. Thank you. This poem was done for, I think it was the Leitrim Guardian, I think. But anyhow, it's entitled Crow Call for Rigna. And the crow call, the word crow is not for the bird, but it's for the type of coal that was mined in Rigna. So I did this piece for Rigna and also for a mine that was at the other side, this side of Slievearn. So when all the photographers went to Rigna, I went to the mine over here. So crow call for Rigna. No pleasure for me, tormenting the passing of sunken black. Who loved the life compared with the fleeting sound of money made? This quiet time, alone with uncertainty, who will sing with the soul's music gone? Sunken black, never to be set aflame. Men afraid, settle for a woman's work that's never done. So I went one day on my bicycle to Carrick and Shannon, and I wanted to get a glass of Guinness so I could cycle back home again. And I can't even remember the pub I walked into, but I just entitled this one, Leitrim Man. The Carrick street stays wet as he enters, to hear the barman tell him to behave himself and to conduct his affairs. He reached for his drink as an instinct left only for him to define. Evasive acceptance now. Lines mapped his face to show a twist of pity as he talked of as he talks of the alleys in Soho with memory and remorse. On leaving, his left silence is full of knots of experience, falling all around for me to untie. The old granite was cracking. I think we've always run into that experience. This piece is entitled Hard Truth. And my wife, when I read this to my wife, she just laughed. So I was happy with that. It meant she liked it for some reason. I don't know why, but I've never figured that one out. Can you hear me okay? The gentleman here whose first language is not English, can you understand? Okay. Okay. I'll let Stevie Ann play with them. Is that better for you? Yeah. Okay. Back to Heart Truth. Okay. I yelled and blinked as I fell off my chair. You were there. After my cascade, I warned myself not to open my heart to words, scripted steam of thoughts to dance around. I died to grieve of what I still had. The poets queue up to suck your microphone for your solo words once stripped. Far removed, you pretended to be the 12-year-old with a Popeye tattoo and a peekaboo games. I closed my eyes and made a wish to find love as an enduring presence, the only truth that failed to mirror a lie. Thank you. Is that sounding better yet? Yeah. Okay. There's somebody, I think the person I was talking to you earlier is here. I think it's here. Anyway, this is speaking, hearing, thinking, seeing, dreaming. Speaking, hearing, thinking, seeing, dreaming of the blue sky, falling in love, the evening sunset, the smile of a child, a leaf blowing in the wind, hearing, thinking, seeing, speaking, dreaming of holding your hand, a rainbow, a bird flying home, the colour yellow, the sound of the wind, the dark of the night, a falling star, the colour of my lover's eyes, a fish jumping, tomorrow's sunset, the last photograph taken, seeing, speaking, hearing, thinking, dreaming dreams that we all do. I like that one. Thank you. Many years ago I went through a difficult time. I won't tell you how difficult it was, but when I was emerging from the so-called crisis that I was in, I did this poem, and it was part of my recovery, and it's entitled Rebirth. I wish to paint a photograph to show you my interior view looking out. I wish to paint feelings of knowing that beyond this self-imposed exile, nature is erupting. I wish to paint a photograph just for you to say I care, as outside the fresh green foliage of spring awakens. Now I've run out of poetry. When I was in America, I was only there for a couple of days, and I remember somebody giving me a milk carton for my tea or my coffee. And on the milk carton there was two little pictures, one of a girl and one of a boy, and they were missing. So it was society's way to contact with the outer public to try and contact the children. Maybe some older people as well. It's a very short poem, and it's for those gone missing. Our dreams we tell to the stars, except to note the passing and time's decay. Minutes turn tragic, freedom gone in transit, leaving your hallowed light glowing, leaving hope in one's empty soul. I think that's for the people left behind. Now we're coming back home to Loch Allen. So we're going to visit Arigna, our second time. But first, we're going to visit Ballinadera. So this poem is for Ballinadera. Swallows dart to heaven, mysterious music sounds. Roadside fruit grows fair, hay lies silent. Fog, black as the raven with the bold cuckoo, slide into the pleasant flow of water. Joyous this time of year after winter's fury. Birds settle, green turns yet greener. Murmuring sounds abound, hawthorn blossoms. Evening haze rests while Loch Allen takes its summer. Thank you. Remember to see that one? Arigna Walk. We have taken to the hills to catch the last light of day. My friend and I to see all things new, even those we've never seen. We knew the way under soft falling rain, each drop sweetening the death of dying leaves. Too soon, November frost will pitch their place, where lovers in July kneeled with hunger for unknown times. On this hill, the earth gives back its ache, the sun bleeds back its heat from the clouds, while embers of lost time drift with the mist into Loch Allen's ever-changing movement. Another quick short one, very short, relates to the Yellow River in Ballinadera. Think of where it runs best, the course taken with well-rounded stones transported. Such a tedious encounter, seeing where the earth parts from grass, wet beasts working, sometimes broken, rain swollen and sunk, as lovers parted by silence. Now we're going back a little bit, even further. I hope I can see this actually. Moments of time. Late morning, late October, 1998. I'm standing on the side of a road heading out of Keiju, County Roscommon, Ireland. Heavy clouds and flooded fields. It's been that kind of autumn, and in my pocket are a number of small stones that I picked up on my way while walking. I walked to a clearing next to a small stream. With feet cold, I put the stones in a small circle near the soil that is bare. I gaze at it, think of the photograph I've just taken. I taste the air, take in the small sensation of the landscape. Maybe the wind, maybe the stars, or rain would witness this simple beauty. I sit and stare as my thoughts from the night before come to my thoughts again. Thinking a few miles away in another time zone, near, maybe with a friend by a pool, maybe a coastal breeze. Once I thought of that. I kept it within my thoughts and wishing that I could be there just for one brief moment, just to take another picture. I had my own private thoughts about this idyllic image that had come from nowhere. Back by the water's edge, a small circle remains. I walk on, still daydreaming of my own thoughts, and discard references to grass. Light rain falls as I walk, a drifter and an idealist dreaming, and more melancholic than before. I smell the wetness while looking at an expressive clump of clotted greenery. All this to be fed back to me in the spirit of collaboration with a stranger, staring at a small circle of stones in the middle of nowhere near Keiju, County Roscommon, Ireland. Thank you. In Michigan, doing a performance art, and my host introduced me to a friend named Richard. And Richard worked for the American government and was in Vietnam. His purpose in Vietnam was to take out some of the leaders of the Viet Cong from the north of Vietnam, which he did once a week. And I think he was there for about a year. So when I met him, he was drinking not coffee, but alcohol. And he was sad what life had been given to him. But he had affected me a lot. So this is for Richard, 1949 to 1999. On the day of hearing of your passing, I walked amid this western space. Under the snow-capped Wasset Mountains, I gave my thoughts to think of you. God gives mercy upon the angry, so too the sad and lonely. In your own way, I trust that your God was there for you at your time of asking. Now here in Utah, snowflakes are falling into the silent whiteness. I think of you and remember. Thank you. I'm going to jump back. I'm going back to my own situation, but to do with the commission. That's my own personal. And this is a poem about my birth mother, whom I never met. And in my lifetime, I've only written 4 poems for her. And this is Mother Poem 4, the last poem. As the seasons turned, you broke into my sleep, captured my dreams with your own design. As I yearned for things that may have been, they fell as wordless whispers through the mist of time. After waiting in turmoil, your trespass is no longer the seductive invasion of yesterday. The strings have been cut. There's no pain between you and I anymore. My anguish is faded into a constructive singleness. I will think of you at this time of leaving as your memory is taken to besiege another. Bye-bye, Mum. But being in Ireland, things can go good and bad and ugly and horrible and strange and upside down and inside out. And all of a sudden I found out that my mother gave birth to another child 4 years after. And I had no way of finding him. He was removed from Ireland when he was 3 months old. And 8 years later, under strange circumstances, he actually found me by accident. And this poem is for my brother Bill. It's entitled Emotion to Emotion. I weaved my way in and out of those leftovers of red tape as they dangled as I walked and lived with your name on my tongue. I weaved my way in and out of those past years, you not knowing of my caring for you as you danced in the American dream. I weaved my way in and out of your birthday date, the first week in February. For you, the unknowing of my waiting. With tears falling, unsaid truths clutter over past pain, leaving scars, time the healer. Your mother was mine too. That something is sacred to us both and her. Now we've got one here that Stevie M to my left can join in with. It's entitled Old Man in Old Age. Sunday, he faces the blinding wind, drawn by the tolling church bell. Monday, a friend calls in, he humours him with small talk and tea. Tuesday, his aches become pain as he walks empty streets. Wednesday, he gets up only to return to bed alone with his thoughts. Thursday, he goes to the market seeking absent friends. Friday, on leaving the garden, he returns inside to dust old photographs. Saturday, wild geese fly by while he's left standing at the window alone, long after they have gone. Now we've got one for the children. There's a couple of children in the corner. And this is a poem about 30 children. So it's titled 30 School Children Are Writing. So maybe Daddy can explain it later on. But 30 school children are writing. 30 school children are writing number poems invented next week. They're adding loneliness to happiness and getting poetry. They're multiplying school hours by yesterday and getting holidays. They're subtracting you from me and getting nowhere. Thank you. I'm glad I actually got the opportunity to read this to some children. And this piece is very old. Am I allowed to say which date this comes from? Yeah? Okay. I'll give my age away, if I can find it, that is. There it is. It's entitled, You Are My Favorite One. And it's very hard to see. You are my favorite one. Come, tell me of your comings and goings. Sing a Leonard Cohen poem for me, and I shall dance in the streets. You are my favorite one. Your beauty is my religion. Is this maybe another love poem? See what you can do to me. Who cares whether you leave with the morning sun? I do not compare, now that I've put a petal in your buttonhole. You are my favorite one, but cannot speak. I've not held my breath for such a long time. Tamed are my insults for you to ride the night dismissed. You are my favorite one, but know not of it. Thank you. That was I won't say that I did that poem. It's a long time ago. Is everybody coping okay with these words? Yes, yes, you're okay, yeah? Okay. I'll skip over this one because I don't feel like reading it. So I'm going to skip to another poem which is about poetry. And it's just titled Poetry. Never end a sentence with a preposition. Never split an infinitive. Never split a verb phrase. Never begin a sentence with an or but. Never write a one sentence paragraph. Never use since to mean because. Never use the first person pronouns I and me. So after all that, tell me, poetry rule makers, what do I do with all my emotions, with all my words? Sit on a beach, light a candle for each of my poems, and let the wind eat their light. It's a nice one, that is. It's going to get a little bit heavy now. This is entitled Where. Your eyes have seen the glory of the enduring freedom as the rocket's red glare bursts into the air, a bitter beacon through the darkest corners of the human soul. I sit and watch from afar while uncertainty flies in the sunrise of tomorrow. You were blind, now you see, after buying your flag pin, your t-shirt and your bumper sticker. You tell me it's the gravity that kills. By the dawn's early light, the wind of change blows over and through the rubble and the ruin, scarring the silence of thousands and the dreams of millions. And you ask me, where am I? And I say that I've written a poem just for you. You go down to the local bar, you drink, and you complain about your wages, your taxes. You complain about the football game, or everything. So now, my dear friend, you must choose as the television slobbers and echoes delight. You must choose between lies told and untold. And again, you tell me and ask me where I am. So I read my poem, this poem, just for you. And where the God that saves may arise for the heart, where the makers of now sit idle by, where expectations of the impossible rest, where clouds cover the wanting of what you get, where anyone, anywhere can make a beginning, where action and passion in one's time may flower, where often the spirits walk before the event, where today already walks tomorrow. I hope that. Yeah, I actually got verbal abuse for reading that poem once. Now I'm going to read one that's special. And this is a poem from my wife, Marina. And we'd just known each other 3 days. And we met in Germany. So on the way home, I did this poem for her, unknowing that on her way home to Brussels, she was writing a poem about me. And then we were married 2 years later. Anyway, this is for Marina. When taking that first photograph, I knew it was something that came as a gift. In the sea of time, thoughts of closeness spiraled to keep me near to you without words. I quiver in the hope to witness what we both wish to be. The ferocity of time that is there to be now muffles the space. Pure reflection and release makes the clinging to the breath of the next moment something to be shared. Thank you. Nice poem. I'm going to nip back to Loch Allen. It's what I did in the early 90s. It's just called Loch Allen Shore. Our laughter triggered the call of birds as we stumbled over rocks, dodging water pools and the shivering coldness of the season. October weeps. With winter creeping into the soul with no promise of control, we walk on sand seldom penetrated, with awareness of nature embracing our intrusion.
Yeah, see, I have to do that.
Again, I'm going back to America, and I was reading, it was either the New York Times or the, what was it called? It was the Salt Lake Tribune or something, I don't know. And there was an item in it about computers So it was way, way back when a newspaper would have to explain the technology and the wording of computers. So I was fascinated with what I was reading. I didn't understand one word of it, but I was intrigued with the words they used. So this poem came. It's entitled Love Chip. I give my love in a frozen way. Techno geek me with a RAM love just for you. A love that is ROM from the heart, more than CPU. Deep down, I need our modem to work, so very BPS. From my motherboard, I give you my gigabyte love, all 1,741,824 bytes just for you.
Yeah.
I like that one. And funny enough, later on, it ended up going to a computer museum in California, believe it or not. Which was really bizarre. But anyhow, it was good fun. But I'm still confused with all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to read one long one-ish, and then I'll read maybe two short ones, and then the last. And this one I've added in just today. I was a terrible failure as a hippie. Not that I didn't try for a while, but I didn't have the knack. Your really accomplished hippie dropped acid and saw God. I dropped acid and saw spiders, which did not count because they were really there. Groovy became easier somewhat just as I was getting almost fluent with it. It passed out of currency. Avant-garde hippies had graduated to more complex phrases like far fucking sideways, which had a native eloquence to which I dare not aspire. All I could do was to give up, drink a lot of Guinness, and paint and write poetry, and think of my sentimental words to tell my grandchildren I'd probably never have. Many of the more expert hippies were coming down to the coast and giving their children names like Radiant Morning and Beloved of Buddha, Peace and Love, Daffodils, the sound of bamboo flutes on the beach at Easter Sunday. Bliss it was in the dusk to the half alive. Bliss it was to realize I'd always prefer fruit and nuts to steak, but no guru would ever win my hardened heart, that I would never meditate or join an encounter group or a commune. Briefly, at the beginning, it was tempting, but in the end, it turned out not as simple, too much hard work. I think of this now because yesterday an old friend dropped in for a visit. His name was Tripper. That's what he liked to call himself. When I first knew him, as he sat on the middle of a street in Newquay in Cornwall and rambled up and down embracing strangers and shoppers who clearly were not too eager to be embraced. A couple of years later, he turned up at my door with a blank-eyed young lady named Emily who thought she was someone else named Eve. There was quite a lot of identity confusion going around in those days. Over the years, Tripper had reappeared in my life every now and then even when he had some adventures together. Tripper is now a salesman for a firm that deals in second-hand office equipment, and he lives in a brand new apartment. There should have been a great many things to talk about. All the cults and all the causes and the weirdness and the loves of a vanished decade. But there was nothing. Tipper was no longer full of love, and Eve stroke Emily was now having treatment, and I was just another field or painter, aspiring writer with a mass of manuscripts waiting to be booked. And still I hadn't seen God, and in reality I wasn't any more interesting than Tripper. For memory's sake, we drank a few Guinness and listened to the early Incredible String Band albums, but mostly we just sat glumly looking out the window at the traffic. You know, Tripper said, there's a good future in sales. You know, I thought of saying, there's no future at all to be an artist, but I didn't say it. I went out into the kitchen, and there I wished Tripper would just go away. I wished he'd never come up and visited me. I liked him better then, but I didn't like him now. We both had moved on to something else. Tripper did leave, and I went in and I sat at the window, feeling very dislocated, really hollow, as if some large and altogether chunk of experience had just been cut out of me. That was absurd, of course, because nothing more truly lost or ever would be. It was the near in the summer, and the sky was turning lazy. So I did one thing seemed appropriate to do, a final defiance of the loss and the turning of time. I sat down to write this story. Now there's a little piece here. If anybody heard of an American artist named Frank Stella? Okay, so when you have time, Google Frank Stella and you'll see his work. This is a very brief little poem, but it's true. And I'll read my last one after this one. This happened in Boston, by the way, in Massachusetts. Frank Stella. The gallery attendant was surprised when I gave him some flakes, bits of your 1950s artwork that fell to my feet that afternoon as I looked at the work hanging on the wall in the gallery. Then last night at a friend's home here in Michigan, as the cold wind blew down over Lake Superior, I placed these little bits of your painting right underneath where the frost would hit them. I thought to myself, I must be quick before the afternoon warmth arrived. I must be quick before the coming of your agent comes looking for his 60%. Thank you. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate Stevie M on guitar, and I'm going to finish with this poem, and it's entitled For the Sake of. For the sake of those lost children waiting to be found, those walkers with nowhere to go, those finding love for the first time, for the sake of those who knew but did not say, those girls who never looked back, those with rubber smiles. For the sake of those white people living in the dark, those pretending indifference, those weepers of sad tears. For the sake of those born-again rock stars There's poets without words, those who always know the wrong time for the right thing. For the sake of those like you, so near, yet so far away, I'm going to kiss you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can take the water now. Thanks.